Welcome back, Endgame community. I'm Pierre, he is Chris, and we're going to let you know which running backs you absolutely must start going into week 12. Now, before we dive into that, let's quickly go over our matchup-proof every week must starts. These are the guys that are no-brainers. They have to be in your lineup, no questions asked. Christian McCaffrey, Najee Harris, Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler, Alvin Kamara, if he plays, Nick Chubb, Ezekiel Elliott, DeAndre Swift, and Joe Mixon. Now let's take a look at some running backs that may or may not be must starts based on matchup. All right, let's kick it off with Saquon Barkley going against division rival Eagles in week 12. How do you feel about Barkley?
He's definitely a must start, and I think he's an every week must start from now till the end of the season.
Yeah, I can't find a really good reason to start anybody else over him. So I'm gonna go with you there on the Barkley front. David Montgomery didn't have a great game last week, but going against the Lions, again, Thanksgiving Day matchup, I kind of feel like you have to roll him against Detroit.
I agree. He's an absolute must start. This is a great matchup.
All right, A.J. Dillon also kind of let down, but going against the Rams, are you feeling like Dillon's going to bounce back?
Yeah, I mean, he was okay. He got you 15 PPR points. The good news is he caught a lot of passes, which was not what we expected early in the season. So I think against his secondary, we may see more A.J. Dillon in this game. So definitely a must start for me.
Yeah, if he's going to catch passes, I think as long as Aaron Jones is out, I think he's fine. Not a lot of running backs with his upside, even in a tough matchup. James Robinson, he's the guy, even though it's a terrible team, it's also a terrible defense of the Falcons on the other side.
Yeah, another guy I say is going to be a must start this week because the matchup is just too good. I know the Jaguars offense is terrible, but you know what's a good fix for that? The Falcons.
Yeah, and he always has a chance to get in the end zone, just like he did this past week. Now, on the flip side, Cordero Patterson has been the offense for Atlanta, except for last week when he didn't play. So, again, we're going to assume he'll be okay to play in this game. If he does, it's the Jaguars. To me, you got to put him back in there.
Yeah, definitely. He's also a must start going against the Jaguars. I know the Falcons offense has also been terrible, but you know what's a good fix for that? The Jaguars defense. So, definitely must start.
All right, Darrell Henderson, after a week off, are they going to get him going on the ground against Green Bay?
I don't think so. I think he's an okay start, but not a must start. My worries here is A, Green Bay is a great defense, and B, the Rams are very pass heavy. Just don't give them a lot of opportunities. So to me, not a must start, just a good start.
Yeah, it's funny that offense in general, but especially the rushing offense, just fluctuates from looking really good to just disappearing sometimes. So Henderson is a fringy start. I still feel like he's RB2 territory, at least this week. Now, what about Leonard Fournette? Loved him heading into week 11, but going against the Colts, I mean, look at the way the Colts have been rolling on defense, especially. So how do you feel about Fournette?
Kind of like Darrell Henderson, maybe a little better than Darrell Henderson. Not an absolute must start, but another good start. I know the matchup is tougher here, and the Colts have been better against the run than the pass. So still like Leonard Fournette, but not necessarily a must start.
Okay, Josh Jacobs, guy that we've been fading. Look, I was high on Kenyon Drake the last couple of weeks because he had been taking over the pass catching role. Now all of a sudden it's like they just don't care about Drake and it's all Jacobs. Jacobs caught 5 balls last week and now he's back to being a workhorse. I don't know what this offense is trying to do, but I'm confused. So what do we do with Josh Jacobs?
I have him as a borderline start this week going against the Cowboys. That Cowboys defense is really good. They do struggle a little bit against the run, but I think on volume alone, he's an okay start, but still not a must start for me.
Yeah, I'm just kind of concerned about that whole offense in general. You know, it seems like they're slumping. Everything's catching up to them. So I'm very skittish about Jacobs. Antonio Gibson looking better going against Seattle. Not a tough matchup. Look, we had been down on Gibson, but he's producing at least somewhat, even without touchdowns last week. So is Gibson back to must-start territory?
I think for this week he is. Might be the first time I've called him a must-start all year, but that Seahawks defense is terrible, giving up plays all over the field. So getting the touches, I think in this matchup, he's a must-start.
And then you nailed Myles Gaskin last week. We knew that the Jets were definitely going to allow him in the end zone, and they did, and had a nice game. But what about the Panthers? Same thing?
Must sit for me. In fact, a little foreshadowing, he will be on an upcoming video, but he's a must sit for me this week.
It's definitely not the Jets offense. Panthers, disappointing last week. You know, obviously just talked about Gibson giving up 95 yards rushing to him, but this is not the same type of running back, so I have to agree with you. Gaskin is not a guy you need to start this week. All right, now let's get into some of the backfields where opportunity is a bit unclear, some committees and timeshares. Let's see who you like better, if anyone. So starting with Philadelphia, all of a sudden they can run at will, but who's going to be doing the running? Well, last week it was Miles Sanders. He looked great in his return. And so do you feel like you can keep going with him and actually put him back in your fantasy lineup against the Giants in week 12?
He's okay. I'm not going to say he's a must start, but if you don't have better options, I think he's an okay start. The matchup is good. And the Eagles do seem committed to running the ball. So okay start in week 12.
Okay, so Jordan Howard had been looking really good, but now with a knee injury, he has already been ruled out for week 12. That makes Boston Scott the next man up. We know Gainwell has no involvement. He was a healthy scratch last week. So Boston Scott as the RB2, presumably, do you think he has fantasy value?
In deep leagues, definitely not a must start, not even a good start. He's more like a desperation deep league start.
Yeah, I think unless he starts catching passes again, which he hasn't really done this year, I don't think you need any part of Scott. You can stash him because of the injuries there, but that's pretty much it. All right, my boy Damian Harris of the Patriots had been rolling all year long, and then now he's splitting time? I don't know. It was not the best game for him this past week. He did okay, but not his typical. What about against the Titans?
Yeah, another guy I don't consider a must start. He's an okay start. You also have to worry, is this becoming a timeshare? Him and Ramondre Stevenson did alternate snaps, so he's an okay start this week. Definitely not a must start, though.
Yeah, so for standard leagues, he always has a chance to score, but so does Ramondre Stevenson. A lot of people asking us, do you start him? What's the deal here? You know, if only we were in Bill Belichick's head, but do you feel Stevenson is startable in even standard leagues?
Yeah, both these guys are startable in standard leagues because neither of them really catch any passes. Stevenson, I feel pretty similar to Damian Harris. Maybe I don't like him quite as much as Harris because I do feel like Harris will get more of the run now that he's going to have a full week to practice. So Stevenson, another guy in deeper type formats, is an okay start, but certainly not a must start.
All right, now let's get to Denver coming off the bye week. Melvin Gordon still technically the 1A there. And so going against the Chargers, we know this run defense has been terrible all year long. Melvin Gordon, does that make him a must start?
I don't know if I'd go quite as far as must start, but he's a really good start because the Chargers give up so much to running backs for teams who actually commit to running the ball, unlike the Steelers. Broncos will run the ball. He's still the lead guy there. So I'm not going to go as far as to say must start, but he's a really good start in week 12.
So I'm going to assume you feel the same way about Javonte Williams, who is basically getting about the same amount of carries and touches as Gordon. Kind of same situation?
Yes, I like Gordon slightly more because he is the lead back there, and in neutral game script, he gets a little bit more work. But certainly Javonte Williams also a good start in week 12.
Yeah, it's. I think you can go with both these guys. Again, it always depends on who else is on your roster. But I feel pretty good against this, Chargers defense. Again, it's still playing like a run funnel defense, so you have to keep stacking against them. All right, now let's go to the San Francisco 49ers. Always a confusing backfield. What about Elijah Mitchell? If he is cleared to play and he comes back, is he someone you plug right back in your lineup going against the Vikings?
Definitely. This is a guy we know is going to get the bulk of the carries. It's a very run-heavy offense. Even last week, they ran the ball a ton. Elijah Mitchell, as a running back too, is a must start if he's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's his backfield, which also means that it's not Jeff Wilson's. Look, I try to warn people away from getting carried away because of one huge game he had last year. Jeff Wilson, very unimpressive with all these touches this past week against Jacksonville. So that means if Mitchell plays, Wilson has to be on your bench, right?
Yeah, if Mitchell plays, he's definitely on your bench. And I think if Mitchell is out, even then, Wilson is barely a startable player after what we saw last week.
Yeah, I mean, he had every opportunity this past week. Just didn't do a lot with it. All right, finally, let's get to some running backs that might be able to help you if you're desperate or you need to fill in for injury, bye, whatever it is. Let's start with Ty Johnson of the Jets. Never a fun time when you have to rely on the Jets running back. But look, Michael Carter is out for a couple weeks, so Ty Johnson is the man there?
Yeah, I'm not going to go so far as to say he's a must start, but I think he's a very solid start here in week 12 because we know he's going to catch the bulk of the passes, and he should get just as much run as Tevin Coleman. So solid start.
Yeah, Texans still one of the worst run defenses. Don't be fooled by last week. They were going against the Titans, which we know don't have a running game without Derrick Henry, and he will catch passes. That's a good thing. All right, now what about Tony Pollard? Look, there's been some talk. Zeke isn't himself. We know he admitted to being banged up, that same knee injury. He's still going to play. He hasn't been ruled out or anything, but could Pollard be more involved? He looked like the more effective back last week.
I think he will be. Not only the Zeke situation, but definitely not going to have Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb, very doubtful to play because of the concussion. So they might need to just lean on this running game more and even lean on Tony Pollard in the passing game more. So again, I think he's another solid start in week 12.
Yeah, he's definitely more the RB3 type, never going to go much higher than that, but I definitely think he does have value in week 12. Now, what about Mark Ingram? We said earlier if Alvin Kamara plays, so let's assume he does play. Does Ingram still have any value going against the Bills, who, despite how they looked last week, are still one of the best run defenses in the league?
I think if Kamara plays, this is the week where I'd say he's a must-sit only because of the matchup, although I know JT did run all over them, but he's not JT, and he's not going to get the opportunity JT got. Now, if it was a better matchup, I'd say he's okay. But in a tough matchup like this, if Kamara plays, he's a must-sit.
All right, and then for the Ravens, Devontae Freeman has had a revival of sorts. Now, Latavius Murray did come back, but Freeman was still the lead back, still did okay, scored a touchdown. Do you think he still has fancy value in Week 12 going against the Browns?
It looks like he does. Again, not a must-start guy, but a solid start type of guy, always a chance to score. Lamar Jackson should be back, so that could help as well. Solid start.
Yeah, if you need him, I think you could roll with him. Again, hopefully you don't have to rely on a guy like that. But again, he's been decent. He's been at least scoring some points here and there, getting in the end zone. So I agree. He's a guy that you could roll out if needed. All right, so our goal is always to help you win. This is our start-sit running backs for Week 12. We do this also for receivers and go over booms and busts. So check out all that content. We definitely appreciate you watching. All right, good luck in Week 12.